What's up, guys? It's Jonathan with Rev Free Moto. Today, Yammie Noob posted a review video of a Janus Halcyon 250. And I'm really excited about that. I actually was very apprehensive because, Yammie has kind of a track history of videos that show Janus in a negative light. And so I had a concern, and I think you can understand why it would be a concern, that he would not be unbiased in his review. I watched the whole thing, and I can tell you, I think he was fair. He actually gave it a go. He actually rode the thing and gave some first impressions. He tried to replicate a wobble, which didn't happen. But he did show the inherent instability of a motorcycle with a hard tail, with no rear suspension. So he goes over the bike, and I would encourage you, if you want to know more about the Janus Halcyon 250 from somebody that isn't already a Janus owner. Well, I guess he is now technically, but prior to this he wasn't, and he certainly seemed to have some negative views of them prior to this video. Go over and watch his video of the Halcyon 250. I think it's actually a pretty decent video. It makes some fair points. So my response to his video is some of the things that he talked about is that the Halcyon 250 really isn't made for like high speed, long stints on the highway, above like 45 miles an hour. And I would actually say I agree with him. I would not want to take a hardtail 250cc motorcycle and try to ride it at 60, 70 miles an hour. The claim top speed of the 250 is 70 miles an hour. And I don't know that I want to ride a hardtail motorcycle at those speeds for long periods of time, just because of the instability caused by a hardtail motorcycle. It's a different animal. It's a very different motorcycle, and I think that's fair. One of the things that he talks about is the brakes don't have good feel. He talks about the front end suspension being a leading link suspension, which has a different feel over bumps and at speed, and those are all fair points. So I just want to kind of go around my Halcyon 450 and show how, if you are interested in a Janus motorcycle and the look that it brings, the style, let's talk a little bit about the 450 and how, if the things that Yammy Noob is bringing up about the 250 are concerns for you, I feel like the answer, if you still want this very unique style motorcycle, kind of like a bike like no other, there's less than 2,000 of them on the road today in existence, right? Between the 450s, the 250s, and they also have the Griffin 250s. All right, so we have a couple different kinds of motorcycles here. But this is the Halcyon 450, and different from the 250, this motorcycle has Brembo brakes front and rear. Okay, so that is a lot better braking than the 250. This motorcycle is about 360 pounds wet weight, and the 250 is around 265 pounds, I believe. So there's about 100 pounds of weight heavier on the 450 added to it. Otherwise, the frame, the tubular steel frame, is a little bit thicker than the 250. You also have, beyond the Brembo brakes, front and rear, you also have a rear suspension. So the 250 is a hardtail with just these seat springs, basically. So if you are going to hit a bump, you have no suspension at all, and all you have is your tire to kind of bounce on that bump. And that's going to go straight into the rider, straight into the motorcycle, and inherently there's going to be a lot less stability at speed. This motorcycle, the 450, has this Icon shock suspension mounted to the swing arm. It's located underneath the seat. You also have the springs, so you have both. The benefit of both, and really this thing absorbs the bumps really well. Given the weight of the motorcycle, it still can feel at speed like you're riding a 10 speed at 55 miles an hour, just because it's a smaller bike. But you'll also notice on this motorcycle, on the 450, it's got these larger diameter tires. They're larger than the 250. They are 4.0-18 size wheels or size tires, and they are substantially going to be a little bit bigger than the 250 tires. They also don't have that grooved pattern on either tire. They're identical tires, front and rear. All right, so a little bit of an aggressive tread, but I've found that it's very stable. I haven't really had this bike higher than 70, 75 or so, but it does just fine on the highway. And then probably the biggest difference, right, is the power plant. This is a 450cc motor. It's a 445cc single cylinder, fuel injected. So there's no kickstart on this motorcycle. There's no kickstart. It's electric start only. And so the Kickstarter on the 250, I feel like, was just kind of put there because, you know, who doesn't love a Kickstarter? How cool is it to be able to kickstart a motorcycle? But on the 450, all you have is the electric start, and it works just fine. This motor is about 30 horsepower, so it is a little bit more powerful. I'd say the 0 to 60 time on this bike, if you're doing it right, is around 9 seconds. I did a video with several 0 to 60 runs, and was averaging 9.5 to 10 seconds, somewhere in that range. I think if someone was a little bit better at shifting at the right points than me, you could probably get 9 seconds out of it. Other than that, the bikes are very similar. They have the same gas tank, they have the same headlight, a lot of similarities in the motorcycles. Sorry for the finger in the frame. But you know, the speedometer I think now is identical. And Yammie talks about the LCD. This is a different speedometer they're using now. It's not the same one as the one on his 250, but they're using these COSO speedometers, which you can find online, and they're fairly easy to read. It's mainly attack, and then you got your speed here, but it's big enough. You'll watch some of my riding videos with this bike. You can see the speed in the frame, no problem. I think that's mostly the differences between the 250 and the 450. But if you're looking at a Janus motorcycle, if you feel like it's something that you know, you like the looks and you're a little turned off by the idea of a hardtail, or the smaller motor, or the ability to handle, you know, the crazy roads, then the 450 is going to be a much more planted option for you. It's going to be a motorcycle that's able to handle the highway. I'm getting ready to take this motorcycle. My plan is to ride this motorcycle all the way to Indiana for an upcoming owners rally, and see how it does. I'm not afraid of it at all. The only limitation, and this is why I have this fuel bottle here, is the 2.1 gallon tank. You know, you really got to stop about, you know, the range on it is probably max between 120 to 140 miles, and that's probably that's probably running it dry, and depending on how you're riding too, right? So some things to think about. I will say that the Janus folks, the customer service is unmatched. So I want you to think about what Harley Davidson was probably like in 1903 when they were first starting out, and they needed their customers, and they needed to be amazing, to be able to get people to ride their motorcycles and spread the word that Harley Davidson is an amazing motorcycle company as far as how they treat their customers. And that is what Janus is today. Janus, you know, you call them. I've had people in their service department give me their cell phone numbers and say, like, hey, just call me anytime. And I'm like, I'm not going to call you anytime. I'll call you during business hours if I can't get you through the business line. And they said, no, I have lots of people that call me at all hours of the day. And I'm like, well, you know, that's your decision, but like, that's amazing. Like, these people are first class. The way they treat their customers and the way they handle themselves as a company is like no other motorcycle company out there. And that's what makes me say that Janus is the most American motorcycle company in existence today. I very much am thankful for who they are as people, for who they are as a company, and for what they stand for. This bike is not about going fast. This bike is not about riding with, you know, amazing handling and speed. But I mean, this bike is probably, in my 23 years of riding, the most fun I've ever had on a motorcycle. A lot of times my poor Triumph Bonneville 2100 gets left behind in the garage while I'm out on my Halcyon 450. And this, I love this bike as well. This bike, it was just kind of, I put them side by side for comparison, because Yammy talked about, you know, hey, why not add a suspension to your motorcycle like Triumph does on their modern classics. And that's exactly what Janus has done on the 450 models. A little bit different, but it works, and it's fantastic. I would say that, you know, some cues, if you did the, you know, the telescopic forks on the Janus, I don't think it would look that bad. It would take a little bit away from the looks of it, right? But I think one of the reasons that they manufacture these is they didn't want to outsource that. It was something else they could build in-house. And so Richard Worsham with Janus has talked about that's the reason that they use that suspension. So that's going to do it for today, guys. Thanks so much for watching. This was just my response to Yammy in his review of the 250, and maybe an alternative if you're turned off by the idea of the 250 and its hardtail suspension. The 450, if you like the Janus motorcycle look, the 450 is fantastic. And that's the reason that I went with the 450. I didn't want a hardtail. Like, my back's got enough issues, and like, I want to be able to ride this thing anywhere and on the highway. So the 450 is awesome for that. But if you get a chance, go check out some videos on the Janus motorcycles, and check out Yammy's review of the 250. Thanks for watching, guys. Let's try to remain objective in the future, and thank you so much. God bless. Love you all.